I moved into my Chicago apartment 3 months ago. It was a cozy little studio in a converted brownstone in Wicker Park, super affordable, quiet, and a quick walk to my job. The building was small, only 6 units, and I got to know most of my neighbors pretty quickly. Well, all of them, except for the couple in apartment 3A, directly above me. I'd catch glimpses of them in the hallway sometimes. A man and a woman, probably in their 30s. They always looked absolutely drained, with these dark circles under their eyes and slumped shoulders, like they were carrying the weight of the world. They never made eye contact or spoke to anyone, just shuffled in and out of their apartment with their heads down. I figured they were just private people and didn't think much of it. Until I heard the baby. It started at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. I was jolted awake by a baby crying, and this wasn't just a normal cry. It was loud, piercing, and desperate. The kind of sound that clutches at your chest and makes your heart race. I pinpointed the source immediately. It was coming from directly above me. Apartment 3A. The crying was relentless. It just didn't stop. I tried everything to drown it out. Earplugs, a white noise machine, even blasting music through my headphones, but nothing worked. The sound seemed to cut through everything. It went on like that, non-stop, until 6 a.m. The very next night, it happened again. Exactly at 2 a.m. The same high-pitched, agonizing cry. This became my new normal. For a whole week, every single night from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., that crying filled my apartment, turning my new home into a place of dread. And the couple upstairs, they started looking even worse. Each day they seemed paler, thinner, their eyes more sunken. They looked like ghosts. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to say something, if only to check if they needed help. So, one evening, I went upstairs and knocked on their door. The woman answered. Up close, she looked even more terrifying. Her eyes were bloodshot. Her hair was greasy and unkempt, and her skin was stretched so tightly over her cheekbones, she looked skeletal. I tried to sound friendly. Hi, I'm James from Tua. Sorry to bother you, but I just wanted to check if everything's okay. I've been hearing your baby cry at night. She just stared at me with this blank, hollow expression. Then, in a flat, dead voice, she said, What baby? I let out a nervous laugh, confused. Your baby. Your baby. The one? The one that's been crying every night? Just then, her husband appeared behind her. His face was a mask, and his voice was completely devoid of emotion. There is no baby. I was so sure of what I'd heard. I insisted. But I hear it every night. For hours. The man leaned forward slightly. His eyes locked on mine, and he repeated slowly, enunciating every word. There is no baby. Then he shut the door in my face. That night, my frustration turned to fear. When the crying started at 2 a.m. sharp, I couldn't stay in my room. I went out into the hallway and stood right outside their door. The sound was deafening out here. It was a raw, unnatural wail that made the hair on my arms stand up. On impulse, I knocked. The crying stopped instantly. The sudden silence was almost as jarring as the noise. I heard slow, deliberate footsteps from inside. Someone was walking towards the door. I could see a shadow blocking the light under the door. Then the woman spoke, but her voice was wrong, hollow and echoing. There is no baby. Go back to your apartment. I scrambled back downstairs, my heart pounding in my ears. The next day I saw Mrs. Rodriguez from 1B in the lobby. She is the building's matriarch, has lived here for decades. I decided to ask her. When I mentioned the couple in 3A and the crying, all the color drained from her face. She pulled me aside and whispered, 3 months ago, she was pregnant. You could see it. She was glowing. She paused, looking over her shoulder. Then, one day, she wasn't. And there was no baby. But every night since then, we all hear it crying. She leaned in even closer, her voice barely audible. But listen, James. Babies don't cry like that. That thing upstairs. It never stops to take a breath. The sound never changes. It's just one long scream. A cold dread washed over me. That night, I decided I needed proof. At exactly 2 a.m., the crying began. I pulled out my phone and started recording. I let it run for 10 minutes, the entire time listening to the horrifying sound echoing through my ceiling. Then, with trembling hands, I played it back. And I heard nothing. Just the quiet hum of my apartment. 4 hours of screaming, and my phone had captured nothing but silence. But I could still hear it. The crying was as loud as ever, right above my head. That's when I finally understood. Whatever was happening in apartment 3A, it wasn't normal. And whatever was making that sound, it wasn't a baby. I went back upstairs with my phone, recording again. In the hallway, the crying was just unbearable. It was this raw, desperate sound that scraped at your nerves. But when I looked at my phone, the audio meter was completely flat. Nothing. My phone showed no sound at all. I got closer, pressing my ear against their door, trying to make sense of it. And under the crying, I heard something else. Chanting. The couple was chanting in a language I didn't recognize. It was slow, rhythmic, and just felt wrong, like the words were bending the air around them. Suddenly, the door swung open. The woman stood there, her face pale in the dim hallway light. But her eyes, they were completely black. Not just the pupils, but everything. Like two polished stones. My heart hammered against my ribs. I tried to look past her, into the apartment, but it was empty. There was no furniture, no boxers, no belongings, just bare walls and a dusty floor. In the exact center of the room sat an old wooden cradle, rocking slowly back and forth on its own. The crying was coming from inside it, but the cradle was empty. "We wanted a child," the woman said, her voice a dead, hollow whisper. "Someone helped us." Her husband appeared behind her, his face just as gaunt. "But it won't stop crying," he whispered, his eyes darting towards the cradle. "It's always hungry." As he spoke, the sound from the cradle changed. It became deeper, thicker, losing its infant-like quality and turning into something guttural and ancient. It wasn't a baby anymore. A slow, terrifying smile spread across the woman's face. "It likes visitors," she said, her black eyes fixed on me. "Thank you for knocking." Before I could even react, they both grabbed my arms. Their grips like iron, they were impossibly strong. They pulled me inside, and the sound of the crying just swallowed everything. It was the last thing I remember. I woke up the next morning, tangled in my own sheets, my head pounding. It felt like a nightmare. Too vivid and strange to be real. But then I saw my phone on the nightstand. There was a new video file. One I didn't remember recording. My hand was shaking as I pressed play. The video showed the inside of their apartment, focused on that rocking cradle. And inside, something was moving. It was too big to be a baby. A tangled mess of limbs. Too many limbs. Writhing and shifting in the shadows. Then, a voice came from the recording. It wasn't mine. It was calm, conversational. It said, "Thank you for feeding it. We all take turns. That's how it works in this building." A cold dread washed over me. I threw my phone across the room. I wanted to believe it was a prank, a dream, anything but reality. But then I heard it, a faint sound coming from my own apartment. Crying. It was coming from my closet. I haven't opened the door. I've barricaded it with a chair, a bookshelf, anything I can find. But last night, I heard scratching from the inside. Slow, deliberate scratches, like something testing the wood. And this morning, when he woke up, my hands were caked in dirt. I don't know where he came from. I haven't left my apartment. I've been trying to piece it all together. The neighbors, the video, the voice. We all take turns. The realization is slowly sinking in. A cold, heavy stone in my gut. The crying from the closet is getting louder now. It sounds hungry. Tonight is my turn.